Hello and welcome to Front Row Racing. It's Thursday night, which means it's time for the Front Row Racing World Series Round 11, which will be at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. An awesome racetrack, but also a very, very tricky one. It's a racetrack that I know a few drivers are not overly fond of, whether that be down to potential weather changes, or perhaps even just the fact that it's a tyre eater. Or maybe even some of the drivers find this circuit a little bit boring. But that can quite often be if the racetracks are quite long in length. Now, long in length means short in amount of laps, but I doubt it's going to mean short in action. Right, well, I'm Front Row Racing DP, otherwise known as Dave Lazenbeds, and I'll be doing the commentary this evening. And I'm going to be joined in the commentary box by Front Row Racing RI, otherwise known as Ray Joel Brooks. How are you this evening, Ray?
I'm very well.
Good. Good.
What you had to eat today?
You know what? I've had nothing. I have actually had absolutely nothing to eat today. Maybe that's why I'm stood up at the moment, sort of doing a bit of a crofty in the commentary box and wafting about a bit. I must admit, I'm looking forward to getting a Chinese later on. That is a meal, not a lady. But then I've been single a while, so I wouldn't mind a lady as well. But anyway, back to the reality of what we're actually doing this evening. It is the Front Row Racing World Series, round 11. Now, I do know we've got two drivers that I'm going to be making it this evening. Adam 4600 has let us know, but it was a little bit too late to get a reserve driver in. And in the Sauber team, Richie Davey asked if Azamort could be a backup reserve for Andy Russell, who may not be able to make it. And I believe Andy's actually been racing from his girlfriend's house over the last few events, so it's probably time that she said, you know what, if you're going to come round, you're spending time with me, you're not bringing your plate. Can't really blame her for saying that. But anyway, on to a bit of information for the viewers. And I'll start off with this. Today's question of the day, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to need a pen and paper. So, when I get to doing the question of the day, you are going to need a pen and paper to try and work out the answer. Okay, bit of information. Last week's race, the Hungarian Grand Prix, the race results were as follows. There was a few changes due to additional penalties. Hindle took the victory, so he takes the 25 points. Hybrid Nuke finished second place. Rickster came home in third, with Dave the Harp in fourth. And I tell you what, Dave the Harp was very unlucky actually. When Charlie got disqualified in the race last week, his car should have disappeared. It didn't. Dave hit the back of him, lost his front wing, lost the chance of a podium there. From a Racing GP finished 5th, K-Slay 6th, Farfber in 7th, Adam 4600 in 8th, Ant 69 in 9th. From a Racing NW on his return to track finished in 10th. Charlie, who was having a fantastic race, was disqualified by the game during the race, so he did not finish. Acorn 95 also did not finish. And Richie Davey received an after-race disqualification for no race footage. Andy Russell did not race. Hindle took driver of the day with a solid drive, and one that obviously earned him driver of the day. And for team of the day, that went to Nightfarf Mana Marusha of Farfber and Front Row Racing NW. And it was an interesting one now. I mean, Team of the Day was a difficult choice with so many contenders, but I couldn't ignore the great drive from Farfber from the back of the grid. And I also could not ignore the tough but very well driven race by Front Row Racing NW on his return to the track. Much needed points for the team and plenty of positives to move forward with. Now, on to a bit more information. The current driver standings. It's an interesting one. The top three drivers have all got 1s, 8s and 0s in their points at the moment. We've got Hindle leading the way on 181 points, followed by his teammate Hybrid Nuke on 180. We've then got Front Row Racing GP for Midlands Madness Ferrari on 108 points. And then we've got Dave the Harp in 4th place on 81 points. Then we move down to Rickster in the Charles McLaren Honda. He's got 67 points. And then again in the Midlands Madness Ferrari, K-Slay on 58. We've then got Acorn 95. He's on 51 points. And then we move down to Richie Davey in 8th place on 42. Adam 4600 in the Underdog Racing Red Bull. He's got 33 points, and his teammate is in 10th place on 19 points. Andy Russell, the other driver in the Godolphin Sauber, has 18 points, and then we move back to the McLaren Honda for Charlie on 13 points. Absolutely devastating what happened for him last week. Then we've got the Night Farf Mana Marussia drivers of Farfba on 9 points, and from Row Racing NW. But as we can see, Farfba has not joined us yet. So he is one driver that we are expecting to join us fairly soon. In the constructors' standings, unsurprisingly, we've got Victoria's Secret Williams Racing leading the way on 361 points. We then have Killer Acorn Mercedes on 187. Then Midlands Madness Ferrari on 174. McCharles McLaren Honda on 100. And Godolphin Sauber on 60. Underdog Racing Red Bull, they're on 52 points, and Night Farf Mana Marussia have managed to get up to 46. Now, for the viewers that are wondering, well, hang on a moment, Farfba and Row Racing NW have only got 10 points between them. How come they've got 46 points? Well, when the teams have a reserve driver in, that driver scores points for the teams, but not for themselves. Okay, got through that one pretty quick. How are we doing for time, Ray? Have we got to half past yet?
We're at half past.
We are at half past. Okay, we will hang on a moment then, just to see if we get Farfba in. And I will ask the question of the day. So, viewers, I hope you've got your pen and your piece of paper ready. And I will repeat it. Here we go. Today's question of the day is: you're a bus driver. You start your route and you've got no passengers on the bus. At the first stop, you pick up 4 passengers. At the second stop, you pick up 11 passengers. At the third stop, 3 passengers get off. At the fourth stop, 8 more passengers get on. At the fifth stop, 6 passengers get off. At the sixth stop, 12 more passengers get on. And at the seventh stop, 21 passengers get off. What's the bus driver's name? Okay, let's move on. Ray, I think it's time to send the drivers over to the racetrack for the Front Row Racing World Series Round 11 in Spa. Now, predictions for this race are an interesting one. I mean, are you hoping for rain, Ray?
Not really, because it was quite good even in the dry.
Now, I must admit, I'm hoping for no wet weather either. Spa can be a very tricky track in the wet, and in the dry, it tends to give much, much better racing. I know sometimes in the World Series this season, we have sort of sat there and gone, yeah, come on, rain for us. But this is one where actually, you know what, I don't want it to rain. Now, going as we're about to head into the qualifying session, I will quickly mention that the qualifying fastest lap time last season in the World Series was set by Hybrid Nuke with a 1:47.057 in the dry, and I would expect that lap time to be smashed this evening in the World Series. So it'll be very interesting to see what sort of lap times the drivers will get up to. And we'll take a quick breather as we get ready to see what the weather is going to be like for the first time this evening for the World Series drivers. We have an interesting racetrack ahead of them, an 18-minute qualifying session and then a 50% race. But what is the weather going to be like? It's beautifully sunny. The drivers, or most of the drivers, I would have thought, will be very, very happy about how the weather's looking. But having said that, Ray, those clouds there look like they could potentially hold a little bit of moisture. And having said that, what does it say on your screen?
Rain. And if I go into more detail, it says a dry start but with heavy clouds forming and possible rain.
Interesting. On mine it says dry but cloudy later with a chance of rain. So it looks like there is a chance of rain during either qualifying or even the race here for the drivers. That will have got their attention. I would not be surprised if a few of the drivers are sat there now going, great. What do I do? Do I add wing on? Do I not add wing on? Do I adjust my tyre pressures? Do I just gamble it that it's going to be dry? Well, we've got a Mercedes driver, that's Acorn 95. He's wasting no time. He's getting out there. Now, some of the drivers will have been practicing potential wet weather conditions But actually, here's something that I want to quickly mention. There's a couple of things I want to mention. You know, the pit exit here at Spa. For any of the viewers that were watching the World Championship race last season, you will know that I crashed on the exit of the pit lane here and then wrote the car off in Eau Rouge during the World Championship race last season, and it baffled me. It really did bug me. And I had a theory as to what I thought may have caused it. And you know what? I thought I was right. And that was that when you come out of the pit lane here in Spa, we'll go on board with David Hart. When you come out of the pit lane here in Spa, the game is in control. The steering wheel is turned for you. Well, as a wheel user, if you turn your wheel to match it, when the game lets you in control, your car turns right. That was the theory that I had. Turns out I was right, because a few of the drivers who have gone from being pad users to wheel users over the last 2 weeks have come to Spa, and I've said to them, be careful on the pit exit, and they go, I've already done it. They were turning around the corner and the wheel was straight, but when the game took over, into the barrier the car went. So it looks like that theory was correct. So if you're a wheel user around the Spa pit exit, or any of the others actually, while the game's in control, do not apply any steering. Okay, let's focus a little bit more on who's on track. Acorn 95. Now, he's going to be the first to start up a flying lap. Now, myself and Ray, we spent a little bit of time down in the press area earlier on today, talking to a few of the drivers, and when I had a word with Acorn 95, he had some interesting comments. He says, I'm trying to find my motivation after the Dream Malaysia race where I had the result taken away from me. That's the reason for my bad form, so I hope to find pace for this race. And sometimes, you know what, when a result doesn't go your way, it really can dent your confidence and make it difficult to get the motivation to race. But rules are rules, and you do have to have your footage there available. Now, sector 1 time, let's see what he does. It's a 30.9. That's actually quite a little bit off the pace in sector 1 here in Spa. But, Ray, as I'm sure you know, the FIA white line ruling around here is quite strict, and for a lot of the drivers, they've got to get a banker lap in, haven't they?
Yes, they've got to get a banker lap. If they don't get that banker lap in, and it validates when they push, then and they've not got the banker lap. If they're just going for one run, one lap time, it's not going to happen.
Exactly. I mean, they can lose it all if they put too much pressure on themselves. Now, a good sector 1 time around here is around about the 29.7s. Anything is good. Sector 2, 46.8s are very, very good. But last season in the World Championship, we did see 46.5s. Whether we'll see that today, I don't know. Acorns is a 48.4. Sector 3 times, 28.1s are a good time. And I tell you what, it almost sounds like Acorn's out of fuel. Interesting that. The drivers should hopefully have worked out already in their practice sessions that if they go out with only 2 laps worth of fuel, they have to run the out lap on lean and look after their fuel. If they don't, they will not complete their lap when they turn the engine up. Now, Hindle, he's started a flying lap. He's put in a 30.1 at sector 1 time. He's not too far away from sector 2. Now, Ray, when he gets into sector 3, I'll come to you for the comments that Hindle made in the press booth earlier on. But his sector 2 time is a 47.5. It's not too shabby, but he'll know he can do better. So what did Hindle have to say when we had a word with him earlier on today?
He said, this track certainly doesn't speak to me. I don't know what track speaks to you, but did that track ever speak to you?
But the interesting thing about that is that Hybrid Nuke said... No, what it was, last week, Hybrid Nuke said that the Hungaro ring speaks to him. So for Hindle this week, he's saying this track certainly doesn't speak to me. Okay, what else did he have to say?
Get lifted.
Yeah.
Last week, Hybrid wanted to see if I could crack under pressure, but I didn't. Is he focusing on me too much, sorry, rather than himself, sorry about that.
I think
bubble in my throat.
That's right. I think Hybrid Nuke may be focusing too much on Hindle, whereas really he wants to focus on himself. Now Hybrid Nuke's on a bit of a slow in-lap at the moment. Yeah, he is on an in-lap. He's already completed a lap. And when we went to Hybrid Nuke for a chat earlier on today, he didn't have any comments, and I think it's possibly because he kind of feels that he cursed himself last week with comments last week, that this week he's not saying anything. Dave the Harp's in third place at the moment. Looks like he's on an in-lap. Ant69 currently in fourth, also now on an in-lap. His lap's been invalidated. Charlie is on an out lap, so Ray, if you want to keep an eye on Charlie, let me know when he's starting a lap. Richie Davey is on a flying lap. He's done a 30.3 sector 1, which is not too bad, going through Pouhon now, a little bit too cautious. And when we caught up with Richie Davey earlier on today, it was a very, very short comment. I'm 2 seconds off the pace. Now it could be through sector 2 that he's finding the loss of pace there, but sometimes if you're not practicing with other people that are on the pace, it's difficult to know exactly where you are losing it. But yeah, sector 2 in the 48s, where really need to be looking at high 46s, low 47s. We'll see what his final sector time is. Anything that's 28s, low 28s will be good. He's in 8th gear as he heads up to the bus stop chicane. Sorry, go on, Ray.
The clouds have come over more, and what I've wrote down is that 30 minutes into the session there's going to be rain, and then 45 thunder, and then 90 it's going back to rain. So it could be wet weather.
It could be. Richie Davies. It could be. Richie Davies just put himself in 4th place. Azamort, it looks like he's had this lap invalidated. Currently sitting in 6th place. From a Racing GP, leaving the pits.
Charlie's just coming up to the start-finish line.
Okay, yeah, he is. He's going through the bus stop chicane. Now, on Charlie's lap, I'll go through the corner names around the beautiful Spa circuit. So as he heads up to turn 1, La Source, so a tricky little corner, one that you really want to get it into the apex so that you can get on the power early. Now we're on the run down towards Eau Rouge. Now, people think the whole corners are called Eau Rouge, but actually, it's just the bottom bit, which is Eau Rouge. So we've got Eau Rouge, Radion, and then we're on to the Kemmel Straight. This kink is actually called Kemmel, and this, the Kemmel Straight. DRS will now be wide open as he makes his way at about 220 mile an hour into Les Combes. Tricky corners, but one being the braking zone for the other. Now be patient so you can be powerful through Malmedy. He's had to lift through it. Sector 1 time for 30.4. Now we work our way down the hill into Rivage, a horrible, horrible corner. One where if your front end has no grip, you won't get round it. The corner with no name, which is known as No Name. And now we head down to the hold your breath, squeeze your bum cheeks. It's Pouhon. Little lift, throw it in, get back on the power, double apex. Quite nicely done there by Charlie. Got a car ahead of him. Now we're heading up towards Le Fang, also known as Campus. Tricky chicane, got to carry the speed through one into the other. Now we're into Stavelot 1, a horrible, horrible corner. Charlie not quite getting to the apex, got to be careful of the exit curb. Stavelot 2, full throttle through there. Now onto the curve, Paul Frere, where we go flat out up towards Blanchimont. Blanchimont is an easy flat out corner and can go side by side through there. Sector 2 time was a 48.2 for Charlie. Now he's making his way towards the bus stop chicane. Hard on the brakes. Clip the first apex if you can. He can't. Clip the second if you can. He can. Now power, DRS wide open to the finish line, and it's a 147.5, good enough for 5th place. From a Racing GP, he's now on a flying lap, and I tell you what, we'll just go back to what Charlie said about when I caught up with him earlier on. He says, remember last season's race? The answer was, no, I don't. Sorry, I don't know what happened to Charlie last season. But from a Racing GP, and Ray's now thinking, no, please don't. But he's just done a Sector 1 time for 30.2. So, Ray, what did Front Row Racing GP have to say to us when we caught up with him earlier on today?
Two seconds, I find my notes on it.
Should we explain what he's done here?
Viewers to translate this, he goes, I'm expecting some Scottish weather during this race. Want to keep it out the way of lagging drivers and have a car race where we all taking a risk on strategy, as I have been working in practice on the four-stopper, because this Scottish weather we get in Spa, but he's made a few mistakes in there. Can you find them, viewers?
Well, I think we should explain that's not Ray unable to speak. That's from Row Racing GP trying to write a message in Scottish, which is almost unreadable, and then saying, I think you should get Ray to read this. From Row Racing GP has just put himself in third place. And I tell you what, Ray, have a look at the clouds. Heading up towards turn one, there is a lot of cloud cover, and I mean a lot of cloud cover. Temperature will be dropping. Dave the Harp, who is in fourth place at the moment, just on a 30.3 sector one. And when I called up with Dave earlier today, he also kept his comments fairly short. Had time to do full race practice, so not sure on strategy. Well, at the moment he's potentially on for improving his starting position. But yeah, I mean, look at the sky. It's really getting grey as we head towards Blanchimont and towards the paddock area. The cloud cover is definitely coming in, which could work in the driver's favour or not, depending on how the tyres react to the temperature changes. Dave then making his way to the finish line, and it's a 1:46.789. That puts him up to third place. Hindle starting another flying lap. Go on, Ray, what have you got for us?
No, I was just looking at the delta time of the tyres. The prime is only 1.2 seconds slower.
Yep, I mean the primes, well, usually the primes are sort of 0.8 to a second slower. Around here it is a little bit more because of the length of the circuit. Hindle, he's struggling a little bit into Lake Om. He's done a 30.1 at sector 1 time. Let's see how he gets on through sector 2. I'm just going to have a quick look at the old timing board. So we've got Hindle in first place, Hybrid Nuke in second, David Harp third, From Racing GP fourth, Richie Davey fifth, Charlie sixth, Ant 69 seventh, Azamore in eighth. K-Slate is on an in-lap, hasn't completed one yet. Rickster is in the garage. And then we've got From Racing NW and Acorn 95. Acorn 95's lap time was invalidated. So Azamore is on a flying lap. No, he's not. He's on an out lap. It's saying there. Okay, let's go back to Hindle then. We'll see how he's getting on with his sector 2.
Rain.
Okay, so I tell you what, Hindle's got rain here as well down at Stavelot. So for any of the drivers that have not put a time in yet, their chance has gone. They may as well now just sit in the pits and wait for the end of the session. For any drivers that are out on track, you kind of got to complete the lap just in case you can improve. You may be okay to complete the lap you're on. Hindle's sector 2 was a 47.4. What's his sector 3 time going to be? He may still improve. Can he get it into the 45s? It's a 46.0. He can't. I don't think we're going to see anybody else improving now. Dave the Harp, he's coming into the final few corners, and he knows that lap is over. Charlie, he is on an out lap. That's been timed not so well for him. Unfortunate, unless he is on. No, he's not on a timed lap. Azamore, yeah, he's on an out lap. I don't think we're going to be seeing any of these drivers improving on their times now. Now we'll get to. I tell you what, we've got 3.5 minutes, so I'll just quickly mention about From a Racing NW, his comments when we caught up with him in the press box earlier today. Interesting comments from Nightwalker. He says he loves this track and seems to be comfortable with his setup. I'm aiming for a 2-stop race, and points are a must as I feel I'm strong with my tyres, and that could be the difference between 10th and 8th. For me, which I'd be happy to get the latter. So From a Racing NW, hoping for around about a 10th to 8th place finish. Now Azamore has continued on this lap, but I tell you what, it's getting very, very wet now up the Kemmel Straight. His previous best is a 30.6, sector 1 is on a 31.1. Time to abandon that lap, I'm afraid, and that's exactly what he's doing. Charlie, though, I think he's going to try and keep going. What you've got to be careful of is, though, just burning up the tyres. He's currently due to start in 6th place. He's gonna try and carry on for completing another lap here.
NW's out on track on the options.
So perhaps Nightwalker realising then that the opportunity really has gone, but if he does just go round and set a sector time or even a very slow lap time, if he starts ahead of us, it will be a bigger benefit. But it is now getting really wet into Eau Rouge. Charlie's previous best sector 1 time is a 30.4. I've got a feeling we'll see that drop. It's possible DRS may have been deactivated, but while the drivers are on the dry tyre, it shouldn't. It's a 30.7 sector 1 time. Or he might want to keep going on that. Okay, he's 3/10 down, but if he can find the 3/10 in one of the other sectors, he will improve, but I don't think he's going to be able to. The car's not going to have the grip, as we're seeing here now through Rivage. The front end just wanted to wash away. No name, and again, yep, can't get anywhere near the apex. That'll be lap over. It is. So unfortunately for Charlie, he's not going to be able to improve. Is anybody else out there from a Racing GP? I think he might be on an out lap, perhaps just wanting to see what the car is like. So let's see. You said NW was out there, so let's go and ride on board. He's making his way back into the pits. Realised, yeah, it's definitely too wet now. So unfortunate for the drivers.
I wanted Casely to go out on track when the rain came, because he said it's his favourite track, so looking for a good result and wouldn't mind some wet weather, but
well, I mean,
I thought he would have seen the rain and goes, right, let's go and have a wee tester.
Quite possibly either that, or he's just thinking, you know what, I've missed it, I'll go with starting in 9th place. I mean, for the drivers though, I mean, perhaps a few of them will now be thinking, you know what, if the rain is dropping now, perhaps the rain will not fall for the race. Okay, while the drivers complete the session, I'm going to quickly go over the question of the day once again. So viewers, you might need a pen and a piece of paper for this. Here's the question of the day. You're a bus driver. You start your route with no passengers on the bus. At the first stop, you pick up 4 passengers. At the second stop, you pick up 11 more passengers. At the third stop, you drop off 3 passengers. At the 4th stop, you pick up 8 more passengers. At the 5th stop, 6 passengers get off the bus. At the 6th stop, 12 passengers get on the bus. And at the 7th stop, 21 passengers get off the bus. What's the bus driver's name? Okay, from a Racing GP, he's decided to continue on, even though he's on the slick tyres, but maybe he's just thinking, you know what, I'm going to burn up this set of tyres. It's not the tyres I'm going to start on. Let's see how the setup handles in these conditions, and the answer is not overly well. So that'll be session over. It is. That's the end of qualifying then. So a potential mixed, very mixed grid here, with Hindle on pole position, Hybrid Nuke in 2nd place, Dave the Harp in 3rd, from a Racing GP 4th, Richie Davey in 5th, Charlie in 6th, Ant69 in 7th, Azamort in 8th, and then the drivers who didn't get to set a time, we have Casely in 9th, Rickster in 10th, technically from a Racing NW in 11th, Acorn 95 in 12th, Farfpa I don't believe managed to join us on the grid, and Adam 4600 unable to race this evening. A very, very difficult qualifying session for the drivers there.
Yeah, I just was checking the delta times on the tyres as the end of the track session, and the wet weathers were speeding right up how faster they would be against all the other tyres. So I expect a wet start.
Well, it doesn't take long for the delta times to switch in favour of the intermediate tyres or the full wets. Full dry start to the race. That'll be something that may have pleased a lot of the drivers, and for anyone that was gambling on a wet start and perhaps adjusted their setup to do so, is not going to have that wet start. Now, Ray, yourself and I are going to have to be a little cautious at the start of this race, because we do have 2 drivers behind us. Well, that's where it is very good advice for the drivers that even if you don't want to set a time, go out and set a sector 1 time, and then you can still start at the back of the grid with fresh tyres but ahead of the admin's cars. Makes life a lot easier for us, makes life a lot easier for you. Okay, 22 seconds to go before the start of the race. The VIPs have been cleared away from the grid. The grid girls have been sent away to my motorhome. Ray, I'll give you a spec. I do wish. The only people left on the grid are the engineers and the cameramen and the drivers. You got 5 seconds, Ray. Give us a prediction.
I No, Hindle, sorry.
Is that I don't want to commentate his curse hybrid nuke, so I'll pick Hindle instead. 3 lights are on, 4 lights are on, 5 lights are on. It's time to go racing. So here at Spa then, the drivers make their way up to turn 1. It's a very, very tricky corner at the start of the race as the drivers get very, very close together. It looks like so far they've all managed to get around turn 1 with no major issues, but now we're on to the long run up towards Eau Rouge and the Camel Straight, where DRS is extremely powerful. From a Racing GP, I think, has managed to jump Dave the Harp at the start. He has, and we've got both Williams side by side heading down towards Lake Holm. They are side by side with the cars behind, trying to find themselves a little bit of space. So from a Racing GP has got himself up to 3rd place, and Charlie's managed to get himself up to 4th. So Dave the Harp is now down to 5th. Oh, we may have a little bit of contact in the background with a McLaren and a Ferrari as Charlie makes a move up the inside through Rivage on from a Racing GP. And after Charlie's race last week, I think he'll want to be absolutely on it here today in Spa. Oh, Red Bull into the barrier. That was Ant 69. He's now under pressure from Rickster and Casely. McLaren and Ferrari side by side through Pouon. Ant's going to be held out to dry here. Now Acorn's all over the back of him. Started dead last. He's now up to 10th place. Can he get around the outside of Ant? He can. And Acorn, he's on the prime tyre. So he's going to be looking to go very, very long as Ant runs a little wide. Time to get refocused for him.
As a Mark got through, and he's on the back of Acorn now.
Okay, up at the front, Hybrid Nuke, he's now leading from Hindle in 2nd place. Charlie, he's in 3rd with From a Racing GP, trying to have a look around the outside of Blanchimont. It can be done. Oh, but GP's gone a bit too wide there. And Charlie holds on to the position. Slightly behind them, we've got Dave the Harp now under attack from Richie Davey in 6th place. A little bit of contact. It looks like the top 6 cars are all running on the option tyre at the moment. Rickster in 7th, getting a little bit sideways, and Azamor the same through the bus stop chicane as Dave the Harp's now trying to fight it into turn 1. Thinks better of it. Now, Ray, keep an eye on the skies, because I wouldn't be surprised if the weather's going to change here. Oh, we've got a car a little bit sideways in the background. I think that may have been... It was Azamor. Excuse me for the coughing. And now we're into the part of the race again where Acorn so fast up Eau Rouge.
Could have the better slipstream out of this, because it seemed like the third... Although two were battling, the third one used to get the good slipstream. That's what we seen last night.
Yep, get double.
He didn't have the top end for that.
Yep, you get double slipstream. If you've got 2 cars ahead of you, you can get double slipstream. From a Racing GP, he's managed to get himself up to 3rd place, but he's just gone a little bit wide around Rivage, but he's now dropped Charlie down to 4th. Can the Ferrari driver now start to close up on the Williams ahead, who are starting to open up a little bit of a gap? And then from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, they're all there to fight it out for the position. And Richie Davey, he's looking fairly strong at the moment. I've got a feeling he's going to be attacking Charlie as early as possible. Dave the Harp, though, started 3rd place, dropped down to 6th at the moment. Start's not been his forte this season. Tends to drop places rather than gain them, unfortunately. Although not quite true that in Hungary, because he did gain places there and really should have ended up on the podium. Here we go then. Richie Davey, round curve Paul Frere, side by side with Charlie. How are they going to get on through Blanchimont? Oh, it's getting very, very close. Now we've seen Charlie go side by side already. Takes a lot of curb, and here comes Dave the Harp with plenty of slipstream. And now they've got to be very, very careful here into the bus stop chicane. 2 wide can be done. 3 wide can be very, very difficult. They all managed to just about get through unscathed. But here comes Rickster now. So we've got McLaren, Sauber, Mercedes, McLaren, all ready to battle it out. For the leading trio, this is exactly what they want. If these guys battle, it'll free them up.
Rickster's got it on Dave the Harp.
He has. So Rickster's now going to get the potentially, yes, he will get DRS, because DRS will be available. We could see positions change here. We could see Richie Davey going past Charlie. I think we will. He's got good slipstream. DRS will be open. But here comes the second McLaren. He's got slipstream and DRS. Richie Davey's in dirty air now, though, but he has got the inside of the corner. Charlie defending. Now he's slowing the second part. Here comes Rickster trying to get in on it as well. Not quite able to do it. Take a breath as they go into Rivage.
Yeah, that's great racing. And Rickster is going to get it through here.
He's sneaking up the inside, but he's on the outside. Yeah, he's on the outside. Oh, it's going to be contact. Can they avoid the barrier? They can. And now here comes Dave the Harp up the inside of Rickster. Pouon. This is going to get tricky. And they all managed to get through. He has gone wide, and that's Rickster back through then. Now he's trying to attack Richie Davey. Richie Davey going defensive. Charlie trying to open up a little bit of a gap here. It's one of the things around this particular racetrack. You get into a battle, you lose time. You get out in front, you can just pull away and pull away and pull away. Oh, Rickster's ran wide. That gives Richie Davey a chance through Stavolo 2. Side by side, they're going to go then through Curve Paul Frere and possibly even through Blanchimont. We've seen it happen on 3 occasions, and Dave the Harp's in the background as well. 2 or 3 times it's been clean. What about this time? It is. It's clean again. Beautiful driving from the drivers here, which means our commentators cursed it. Let's get ready for the crash. No. They're getting through the final chicane quite nicely. Very nicely done there by the drivers. And
Caseley's catching up on these guys as well.
I was just about to say that. Yep, Caseley is catching up on them. Now Charlie, he's at the head of this queue. He's got Rickster right behind him. He's not going to want to hold up his teammate, but he's not going to want to lose out too many positions. So for Charlie and Rickster here, it's a case of, you know what, you're close enough to go past me. So go past me as quick as you can on this straight. I'll slipstream you. Ray, keep an eye on the 2 cars behind. Here we go then. Rickster going for the move. Dave the Harp also going for the move. He can't quite do it because Richie's got the slipstream from the cars ahead. So Dave the Harp unable to get through. But now he's trying to attack through Lacombe. May have a better run into Rivage. Yeah, up the inside. And once you're up the inside there, you do have the benefit of the grip. But if you're on the outside for No Name, you're in a horrible situation. But Dave the Harp's done that rather beautifully. So Rickster's got himself up to 4th place and is now pulling away from Charlie. Let's have a look up at the front. Hindle and Hybrid Nuke, they've swapped places. Hindle is now leading the race with Hybrid Nuke right behind him. I think that may have been a DRS overtake. I tell you what, Ray, have a quick look at 3rd place and see how far they are off this leading pair at the moment.
3.2 seconds.
I think Hybrid Nuke may have a bit. Hybrid Nuke may have a bit of a run on Hindle here. He's got slipstream. But really, you don't want to be overtaken into the final chicane, because all you're going to do is gift DRS to your opponent. You may as well hold position and overtake down the Kemmel Straight. And Hindle's into the pits. End of lap 4. Now, we saw Tempfear yesterday. He did this. He went for a very early pit stop at the end of lap 4. That put him onto a 3-stop strategy. We've got a McLaren in the pits. I think that's Charlie, yes, and Dave the Harp. Now, as I was mentioning, we saw this yesterday.
Tyres on Hindle.
Okay, options on Hindle. Tempfear pitted this early, ended up on a 3-stop strategy. It did not work for him. Now, these drivers, their tyres must have either been absolutely knackered and had no choice but to pit, or they're potentially going for a 3-stop strategy. At the moment, it looks like they've all gone option. Yes, they have. Yeah. But that is a very, very early stop. Yes, they'll get the undercut on everybody else, but they also may find themselves in a little bit of trouble. I tell you what, Hindle, he's come out of the pits.
As well.
Sorry, okay, Hindle, he's come out of the pits just ahead of Ant 69. Ant's on slightly more worn tyres, but did have DRS. Hindle manages to break away. That's vital for him. Now, Caseley and Richie Davey, they're having a battle now as they're side-by-side into No Name. Caseley having to work his way from 9th place. He's up the inside, a beautiful switchback move there. He's got the inside line now into Pouon. Going to have to slow it down enough to not run wide, give both drivers enough room, and they are doing. This is beautiful, beautiful driving. Richie Davey holding it around the outside. Now he's got the inside into Lafagna and manages to hold on to the position. But here comes Acorn. He's running the prime tyre. The prime tyres will now be faster.
Yeah, I thought Caseley had worked out another switchback there, but he never quite managed to get it.
No, it was brave, but like I say, wasn't able to do it. But we are at that point now where for these drivers, Caseley may be on brand new tyres, Richie Davey won't. His will probably be worn. So his will be falling off the cliff now, whereas K's may be better, and Acorn 95's prime tyres should be good for another 5 laps, but he's gone very, very deep.
Richie's gone for the pits.
Okay, Richie has gone for the pits, but Caseley and Acorn very, very nearly ended up spinning each other as Hindle now tries to sneak past the both of them. And then we've got the McLaren of Rickster in the pits as Acorn having a look up the inside. Caseley, locking it up into turn 1. So Hindle, he's now...
Richie's got a puncture. His front right's flapping in the pit lane.
Yep, so his tyres were absolutely knackered then. Acorn 95, potentially close enough for a DRS overtake. I'll tell you what, Ray, can you have a quick look, see if Hybrid Nuke and Front Row Racing GP, whether they have pitted yet. K-Slay, he's trying to go for an overtake on Hindle. Hindle's on the better tyres. Oh, and Hindle kind of chops him up there, puts K-Slay into a spin, and now K-Slay struggling for traction. Perhaps a little bit naughty there. You've got to give the drivers a bit of room, but at the same time, if you're on one tyre, you've got to be careful of going for an overtake. Okay, Hybrid Nuke and Front Row Racing GP, as you just quickly mentioned there, Ray, they're still rotating around the racetrack, and Front Row Racing GP looks like he's actually catching up to Hybrid Nuke here.
Yeah, well, we've already had one puncture, so they need to watch out.
Well, I mean, that is very, very true. I mean, if the drivers are way too aggressive on their tyres, the punctures can come. But it all depends as well on how many laps they did in qualifying. Because if they did a one-run flying lap, they should be good to go to the end of lap 6. If they've done 2 laps or 3 laps, yeah, you're not going to make it that far. But I think we're going to be seeing Hybrid Nuke and Front Row Racing GP heading into the pits this lap. If they do, Ray, I'm going to jump off them. If you could keep an eye on them in the pit lane to see what tyres they go for. Yes,
and
Hybrid Nuke is in. Hybrid Nuke is in the pits. For a Racing GP, he's continued on. Okay, where is Hindle then? Hindle is now coming through the final chicane, so he's effectively going to have a pit stop over his teammate, but may have to do the extra pit stop later on. He's passed his teammate, who is still in the pit lane now. Any news on tyres there, Ray?
I'm just going to double check options.
So Hybrid Nuke then goes for another set of the option tyres, and Rickster, who is in 6th place, we've got a Ferrari spun. I think, who was that? It's K-Slay, I believe. I think K-Slay has just spun it at turn 1, but Rickster's now up to 5th place. That puts Hybrid Nuke in 4th place, so he's come out of the pits on a brand new set of option tyres and can see Acorn 95 ahead of him, who is still running, I believe, on the prime tyre. David Harp in 6th place, very, very close to Rickster. We're 7 laps into this race and they're passing very, very quickly. And I tell you what, I've just spotted, Ray, and I don't know if anybody else has. It's just started to get a little bit grey. Now, if any of the drivers have got engineers that are sat on their pit walls that want to give us a weather update, feel free to do so. But I've got a feeling we may be seeing some rain coming soon, because the weather, it definitely looks like it's turning here.
It looks like qualifying to me.
Yeah, exactly the same, where it was beautiful sunny and then suddenly it went a little bit grey, and then all of a sudden, yeah, the rain fell. Okay, so with the first round of pit stops looking like they have pretty much been completed, except for Front Row Racing GP, who has not stopped yet. What's the gap between Hindle and himself? It's only 7 seconds. So Hindle is getting the benefit of a huge undercut at the moment. He's been on his set of tyres. He's going for another lap. He's going for another lap.
He tells lies in his press conference. He said 4-stop. This isn't a 4-stop.
Well,
we're going to have words with him next time.
Well, you know what? He's just had a big lock up into turn 1, and if his tyres puncture, he may end up on a 4-stop. Perhaps that's weather related. Maybe he's just thinking, oh, let's go a little bit longer, But even I'm surprised that he's going, continuing on. Lap 8 on this set of tyres.
Oh, I seen a dribble. It's raining.
You're right, Ray. It is raining. Now it's a case of what tyres do you pick, drivers? Do you go for an intermediate tyre? Do you gamble a full wet tyre? By the time these guys get to the pit entry, it could be absolutely peeing it down. Hindle is still catching GP here, but he is on much, much better tyres. This could be an absolute blinder of a call for Front Row Racing GP, depending on how much time they lose. Hybrid Nuke, he's in seconds off the lead. Acorn 95, he's not yet.
The move on. Two on.
Yeah, he's got the move done.
Wide, so it's Front Row Racing GP.
Yep, I think we'll see everybody go wide there now. But Acorn 95, he hasn't pitted either, because he's still running his prime tyre. Rickster in 5th place, he has made a stop. He's got Dave the Heart right behind him still. Charlie, he's in 7th place, running the option tyre. Azamor, he's in 8th on the options. Richie Davey not far behind him on the prime tyre. And then Ant69 right up his gearbox.
Here comes Hybrid Nick. What?
Something's wrong with
He's
front row
got a
racing.
puncture. He's got a left rear puncture.
Yeah, that's disaster then for Front Row Racing GP. Tried to gamble it, and the problem is when you get a rear puncture, there is absolutely nothing you can do to try and improve your speed. You are pretty much limited. But that will have cost him. That will have cost him. He has no choice now but to pit. All he can do is gamble, go for the tyres. Is anyone else pitting? Yes. Acorn 95 into the pits. He's spun it in the pit lane. He's spun it in the pit lane. That's going to cost him some time. Excuse me. Hindle's carried on. Hybrid Nukes carried on. Dave the Harp's carried on. Ray, keep an eye on what tyres the guys in the pit lane go on for me, if you will, because Rickster at the moment, he's looking at lining up Dave the Harp.
Went primes.
Acorn's gone primes. Oh, ew. Yeah, tricky one that. But here goes Rickster. They've gone up Eau Rouge.
Azamart's going.
Oh, Rickster's lost it. Rickster's lost it. Sorry, Rickster. He pulled out to the slipstream, opened up the DRS, and the rear end has just completely gone on him. That's showing just exactly how wet it is now for the drivers out there. Going for a simple sideways movement to make an overtake and nearly completely wrote the car off. That makes it a very, very interesting situation. Front Row Racing GP's gambled full wets.
Azamart's went intermediates behind them.
Well, this is very...
Slay's went intermediate, so it's whether GP's got his strategy right.
Possibly, and I tell you what, the drivers are searching for the water on the track. We saw GP do it, we saw Caseley in the distance do it, but here comes Azamor on the intermediate tyres up the inside into Rivage. Now for anyone that's on for anyone that's on the full wet tyre, they are going to have to look after them and hope that it does go to full wet. If it doesn't, they're in trouble. What tyre is Caseley on? He's on the intermediates for a Racing NW in the pit lane. Let's see what he goes for.
Hindle's coming in a bit late.
It's intermediate tyres.
Hybrid Nuke has to go on. So
you're right.
Hybrid Nuke's going to lose out. If it
well, you say that, but we've seen at a previous race.
He can get the wets if it.
Exactly, I was about to say that. Hindle's gone on the intermediate tyre. We have seen at previous races Hybrid Nuke try going the extra lap to try and go straight to the full wet tyre. Now we have got another Mercedes in the pit lane. It's Dave the Harp. He's gone for the intermediate tyres. We've got a McLaren in the pit lane. That's Charlie. He's gone intermediate tyres. Richie Davey, he's back into the pit lane, followed by Ant69. What tyres will it be for these guys? I think it's intermediate tyres for Ant69. I can't really tell from here.
Full wets for Richie Davey. Yeah, it was intermediates.
Okay, so you're right, it is intermediates for Ant69 then, with Richie Davey going full wet tyre, and Azamor, who's gone for the intermediates, coming round turn 1, got his teammate slightly up the road, and I tell you what, I don't think the full wet tyre was the right call, because Front Row Racing GP, who's been on them for a lap and a bit, he's now got his teammate all over the back of him on the intermediate tyre, and he's let his teammate go through. Hybrid Nuke then.
Rickster's still out in the auctions.
Sorry, having a little bit of a coughing fit there. Yeah, Hybrid Nuke, he's still out on the options, so is Rickster. It'll be interesting to see if they do gamble full wet. I mean, for Front Row Racing GP, I mean, I suppose in hindsight you could just say, yeah, should have put the inters on. But it's one of those situations where it does now look like it's getting wetter. It needs to get a lot wetter, though, for the full wet tyre. But if Hybrid Nuke, if he's pitting now, I reckon we could see him chucking it in for a set of the full wet tyres, because what he doesn't want to do is pit now for inters and pit again for full wets in another lap.
Just seen Azamart passes teammate Richie Davey, who's on the full wets, while Azamart's on the inters.
So the intermediate tyre is the tyre to be on. Now quickly, for the viewers, if any of you have been working out the question of the day and you've properly worked it out, then I do apologise. I am sorry, but I find that one very, very funny. And if some of you have been coming up with all different kind of mathematical equations, I'm afraid you've got it a little bit wrong. So we'll go to a slightly more normal question of the day as we reach half distance in the race. So here is the question of the day for the viewers out there, and even for you, Ray. Should the FIA get rid of the stupid Mickey Mouse chicane at Spain? The one in the final sector. The last two corners used to be two beautifully fast right-handers. We've now got a horrible Mickey Mouse section. So should they get rid of that and go back to having the two beautifully fast right-hand corners? That's your question of the day. Yes or no, and give your reasons as to why. So what do you reckon, Ray? Should they get rid of them?
Nah.
No. Oh, that's a no. I tell you what, Hybrid Nuke, he's gone to the full wet tyre. His teammate is about 5 seconds up the road on the intermediate tyre. Be interesting to see if this gap is going to increase. Ray, you keep an eye on that gap up at the front for me, please, if you will. Dave the Harp, he's in third place, running the intermediate tyre. Charlie is in fourth place. So we've got Charlie and Dave the Harp battling it out for third and fourth place. Again, 2 races in a row. Rickster, he's in fifth place at the moment. And I tell you what, the track is looking like it is getting wetter. Azamor, he's in 7th place, got his teammate behind him running the full wet tyre. Acorn 95, he's in 9th, he's on the full wet tyre, and he's got the Ferrari of Front Row Racing GP behind him now. Where's Caseley gone? Caseley is down in 11th place. Has he changed to the full wet tyre? He has. He's changed to the full wet tyre. Maybe we're in that period now. Yes, from a Racing NW, 12th place. He's going for the pit lane to get rid of the intermediate tyre to put on a set of full wets. Hindle, apologies for the dodgy camera angle there. Hindle, he's continued on. Ray, has that gap come down at all as Hindle's searching for either a dry bit of track or a wet bit of track?
It's 11 seconds.
You're right, it is 11 seconds. So maybe the full wet tyre is not the tyre to be on, or the sector time I saw earlier on was it would have been Hybrid Nuke came out of the pits. It gives a dodgy time. Oh, I tell you what, I've just seen the view go very, very dark. I think the rain is coming down really heavy now. I think it has just turned into it's time for full wet tyres. Dave's carried on, Charlie's carried on, Rickster's carried on, and 69's carried on, Richie Davies carried on, Acorn, as we know, is on the full wet tyre. Azamor, he's pitted, he's put the full wet tyre on. He's the guinea pig now then for the Sauber team. Either that or because he was ahead, he got the choice to go for those tyres. But then Richie Davie is already on them. So what would you do in this situation, Ray? Couple of drivers are on the full wets, couple of drivers are on the intermediates. Do you just go on what everybody else is doing, or do you just go, yeah, it's time?
If I was driving, I would probably go inters and then wets, because I'm not that great a driver, to be honest, but for the drivers that race constantly, they'll know what they could handle and what they can do. So sometimes they might get it right, sometimes they might get it wrong. You can never beat Mother Nature, can you?
No, that is true. Now, Hindle looked like he opened up the gap a bit, but he's going for the pits. That means he's going for the full wet tyre. That's going to give, effectively then, Hybrid Nuke the lead of this race. He's close enough to take the lead. He's on the full wet tyre. He's not been on them as long. This is all going to get very, very mixed up again now. Hindle in the pit lane, on the move now, as Hybrid Nuke makes his way up to La Source. Round the corner he'll go. Will Hindle keep the lead?
Harp's in the pits for full wets.
Okay, so Dave...
Charlie's in the pits, Rickster's in the pits. Oh, Rickster and Charlie, have they got a good enough gap?
Well, we're about to find out. Charlie is... on the move, it is straight in, but Rickster is going to get hold up a little bit. That's cost him a good second or two. As soon as Charlie was on the way out, Rickster was on the way in, but they had to take a moment to grab the tyres to get them onto the car. So double stacking there may have cost Rickster a second or two, but it'll be less time than had he have carried on, and on the intermediate tyre, needing a full wet tyre. Now, for those drivers that went full wets earlier on, they've been on them for 2 or 3 laps now. This could bring them back into play a little bit, but their tyres could have been burnt out a little bit. And if they are, they won't last very long. The wet tyres do not like running on a track that is not ready for them. But it's definitely getting wetter up the Kemmel Straight now. DRS will be deactivated, but I tell you what, Ray, there was one of the drivers that did say that they were looking forward to some wet weather.
Yeah, was that not Casely?
It was Casely. I'm not sure what position he's in at the moment, but Front Row Racing NW, sadly for him, his race is now over. So he will be making his way back to the garage, taking off those soaking wet overalls and putting on some nice, clean, dry clothes. Now, Charlie's still in... Sorry, go on.
I think the ones that have missed out in this pit stop is Front Row Racing GP, with the pit strategy, with the wet weather coming in, because he's still down in 8th.
Well, I think what cost him more than anything was the puncture. If he'd have been able to get to the pit lane without the puncture, he probably would have gone perhaps for an intermediate tyre. But because of the puncture, that's perhaps what's led him into the gamble of, right, put the full wet on. But for a number of laps, it has cost them. Richie Davey, though, he's beginning to catch up. Charlie in 4th place. And also Dave the Harp, who is in 3rd place. So Richie Davey on a bit of a charge here in the wet conditions. Now, he said he was 2 seconds off the pace, but... in the conditions we've got at the moment, he's looking absolutely on it. I don't know, Ray, if you want to have a quick look up at the lead and see what the gap is between those two.
2 seconds.
So keep an eye on that one, let me know.
Sorry.
Okay, keep an eye on that one, let me know if it does start getting really, really close. Dave the Harp, he's 23 seconds off the lead at the moment. Part of that will be down to pace, part may be from additional pit stops, because he did go intermediate tyre, but having said that, so did Hindle. For Hybrid Nuke, though, it worked out very, very well, going option, and going straight onto the full wet tyre. But I tell you what, unless you're a bit hungry, Ray, I've definitely heard what sounds like the grumble of thunder.
Yeah, and I had that in my race notes. It was thunder at 45 minutes into the session.
That you did, so it looks like your weather forecaster is better than mine.
2.7, he's, Handles took a 10th out of Hybrid Nuke.
Okay, so not much changing between them at the moment. Charlie looks like he's struggling a little bit in these wet conditions as he's really trying to throw the car around this track. He'll see that Richard Davey is closing in on the back of him. He's running a little bit wide, got to be careful on the curves, the car's going to want to spin, and he manages to just about hold it. Ray, can you have a quick look through the order for us, see if we've got a battle going on anywhere or anything that could begin to brew into one? Because I do think that Richard Davey could be all over the back of Charlie. Very quickly.
Racing GP and Ant 69.
Also, Ant 69, he's found himself a little bit of pace at the moment, because Front Row Racing GP was all over the back of Acorn. But saying that, I reckon GP has burnt up his full wet tyres. I reckon we'll see him into the pits fairly soon, as Ant 69 has just easily passed him into Blanchimont. I got a feeling...
90 minutes I've got rain, so...
sorry, there we go. Front Row Racing GP is into the pits. I don't think he's had any choice about that one. You run the full wet tyre on a track where it needs the intermediates, they will burn out. Okay, it'll be okay when it does get full wet, but they will not last anywhere near as long as they should, because effectively the rubber blocks on the tyre, you've taken half of them away. So when when the heavy rain comes...
Sorry, Richard Davey and Charlie, side by side, a wee bit of contact through the chicane after the Camel Straight,
into the Lecombe chicane. Obviously we've not seen it, but I'm sure for the driver's views footage we'll be able to have a look. But yeah, going back to Rickster, I think Rickster's catching up on these guys. I thought for a moment it was Charlie in the background. Going back to the full wet tyre, you run them on a dry track, give it 2 laps, you're running a set of slick tyres that have got no grip. You run a full wet tyre on an intermediate track, you're going to burn away half of the blocks. Then when the heavy rain comes, there isn't enough rubber to get rid of all of the tyre. They work harder, they slide more, they wear out. It's a very tricky situation to find yourself in. Okay, Ray, do you want to have a look and see whether Front Row Racing GP did go for another a set of full wet tyres, or whether he's gone, perhaps gambled for an intermediate?
No, he went for wets and the leaders, it's down to 1.1 seconds.
Okay.
Handles gaining.
You're right, Hindle is gaining. Now, I'll keep an eye on this battle then as this begins to develop, and it is absolutely soaking wet here in Spa. But we know the weather could change at any moment, and if it does begin to ease up and dry up, it could dry up very, very quickly. Now, for the likes of Front Row Racing GP, who has had to pit, obviously going to the full wet tyre is probably the only thing that he could have done. The intermediates won't last in these conditions. I mean, look at, we've got sideways rain near enough here down at Rivage. Now, Hindle was closing up to Hybrid Nuke, but he had a bit of a sideways moment, which has cost him a little bit of time. It doesn't matter if he gets within a second, he's not going to get DRS in these full wet conditions, and Hindle's actually searching for a little bit of water on the straight. So perhaps there is a bit of a dry line appearing, but not dry enough for intermediate tyres.
And Ant 69 is catching up on Acorn 95 down the Kemmel Straight, and he's overtook him before the corner.
So Ant 69, he's on an absolute charge at the moment. He was worried about his pace. Well, no, actually, he said he doesn't want to get hit off in the first few laps, and then he wants to battle. At the moment, he's doing exactly that. I tell you what, though, Ray, there is a dry line appearing.
We've got the McLaren of Rickster. He just went a wee bit wide Poulan, but he was all over the back of Richard Davey.
We've also got K-Slay in ninth place with Azamort. Yeah, I think it might be, K-Slay in 9th place, Azamort in 10th. I'm just looking at the racing line, and it does look like there is a racing line appearing. Now, what the drivers may be able to do is, if the rain is not necessarily easing up a little bit, but if they've been able to remove enough water from the racing line, they may be able to go back to an intermediate tyre. Now, K-Slay looks like he's getting very, very wiggly out here at the moment. Oh, cars ahead. And 69 and Acorn. And 69's just gone massively sideways. And Acorn now side by side. May be able to be ahead before they get to Blanchimont. He is just. That was close. Azamor, though.
If he's in the pits, I'll let you know what tyres they come down.
Okay, Azamor was having a look at K-Slay. Wasn't able to make any kind of an overtake there, though. So they're going to hold position, and K-Slay's into the pits. I think that he may be going for a set of intermediate tyres.
And Richard's gone full wets.
Interesting. Okay, Acorn 95 and Ant 69 still battling it out around La Source. Acorn 95 seems to have had good straight line speed on the previous lap where he made an overtake down the Kemmel Straight. We've got Sauber on Sauber just behind these guys as well in 8th and 9th place. But can Ant 69 go for another attack here down the Kemmel Straight? He won't get DRS, but he will get slipstream. But he's not really using it. He's going to try and go the long way around the outside. Charlie, no, his race is over. 2 races in a row from a good position. It's now all over. So disappointment for him. From a Racing GP who pitted earlier for that second set of full wet tyres, he's now got himself up to 9th place. Hindle, we've missed it. Apologies, viewers. Hindle has taken the lead from Hybrid Nuke. We haven't seen exactly how that has come about, but with the gap he's now got on Hybrid Nuke, I'm wondering whether Hybrid's had a little bit of a moment somewhere.
Ant's taking a place against Acorn again.
No, Acorn, his race is now over. Too many times off the track limits by the looks of things. And that is race over. 2 drivers in the space of 1 lap, and that is one of the some will think downside to the new FIA strict ruling, but also the upside to the FIA strict ruling. You go off track too many times, and at some point the stewards, the clerk of the course will just go, "You've had your warnings, you've not dealt with it, sorry, it's time for you to get a disqualification." Now, one of the things that we do know is that in the wetter conditions, the clerks of the course do tend to be a little bit more lenient, but the drivers do still have to respect the front row racing rules when that is in play. Well, Hybrid Nuke and Hindle very, very close. We've got 4 laps to go, 4 laps and this one to go. Is the weather going to change? Is it going to clear up? I think with drivers having pitted for a new set of full wet tyres, I think the answer might be no.
Richard Davey, he's pitted for another set of full wets, but he's all over the back of Ant now. The drivers that did pit, they all went full wet, so maybe the full wets weren't lasting.
Quite possibly, maybe the full wets weren't lasting, and also obviously a brand new set of full wet tyres will be considerably faster than a set of full wet tyres that have done, what, 8-9 laps.
Having a wee slide. Hybrid was it close enough to have a wee glance? Yeah, it's still 1.05. No, it's under a second at the front here.
Well, it keeps changing as one driver has a clean sector, the other driver has a bit of a messy sector, and it keeps switching and changing. I mean, Hybrid Nuke's in an interesting situation because he'll have the advantage of slipstream, but he's got the disadvantage of dirty air, and in these conditions you really do not want dirty air. He's closed up a lot into the bus stop chicane here and may be able to apply some pressure. I'm not sure if the weather is actually easing up or not, but I tell you what, looking over towards the back end of the circuit as I look out of the commentary box here, it looks like we may have a little bit of blue sky. So as we head down the Kemmel Straight, we may get to spot a bit of blue sky up above us. Whether it'll have any effect towards the end of this race, we do not know yet. And if it does, it'll have to change very, very quickly. But Hybrid Nuke, he's perhaps in position here to attack his teammate. He's got slipstream, he's going for it up the inside. Not a bad way to go that, because with the wetter part of the circuit, we'll have more grip on his tyres. Slips through, but there's contact between the two of them. And that's going to cost them both a little bit of time, but Hindle is now into the lead and Hybrid Nuke is now in second place. I wonder if they'll be having a little bit of a chat between the two of them, trying to work out whether it was one of their faults and perhaps switch position and then avoiding any possible chance of a penalty there. But it looked very similar to Rosberg and Hamilton from lap 1 a few seasons ago. Now Rickster, he's in 4th place. Dave the Harp's in 3rd place at the moment. Richie Davey, he's in 5th place. He's opened up a gap on Ant69, who is in 6th place. He just seems to be getting better and better through this race. Asamoah is in 7th, all on his own at the moment. From Racing GP, just ahead of his teammate in 9th place. And then we're back to Hindle. So we have had a few drivers out of this race so far. From Racing NW with a retirement, Charlie with a disqualification, Acorn 95 also with a disqualification. Well, okay, Ray, 3 laps to go. What information have you got for us?
Hammer Time 44 said he would like the chicane to be removed because you can gain so much speed down the straight and have more battles. But it depends on top end speed, doesn't it, and what they've got it set up for.
It does, but it really, I'd say, more depends on traction ability out of the Mickey Mouse chicane. I mean, they got rid of the corners for safety reasons, which I think they could quite comfortably return it back the way it was. It was a much better set of corners. It's a little bit like Bahrain. Bahrain, when it first came on the calendar, brilliant racetrack. Then they decided to go for the longer version where it added a load of twisty sections to aid overtaking. It didn't. They made the races horribly boring and nobody could overtake.
Casely's on the back of Front Row Racing GP. I don't know if the GP's hanging out wide. Is he letting Casely past?
I think he might be. We'll have to clarify as well something from the last race where Front Row Racing GP, we thought maybe he had ran out of fuel over the finish line, but actually what happened with the Ferrari team was that Front Row Racing GP Casely let Front Row Racing GP through earlier in the race. Different strategies, different tyres. Casely let him through and GP said to him, look, catch me up towards the end and I'll let you back through. So that's what they did. Okay. What have we got going out on track? Something else actually I'll quickly mention. I mean, you might remember this, Ray, that last week excuse me, I discussed my conspiracy theory about the helicopter over the racetrack. You remember that conversation we had? Right, okay. Here's some interesting information for you, right? I received a message off one of our viewers in the week. So I would like to thank Ben Crossley for sending in this interesting piece of information. Right now, he is an avid Tour de France fan. He watches it every year. You know, Tour de France, they're on the push bikes. There's loads of them. Yeah, they're all wearing skin-tight shorts and you can see the danglies bouncing everywhere. Not pretty. But yeah, he's an avid watcher of the Tour de France. Now, interestingly, in the Tour de France, the riders made complaints, and it is now, a provision has now been made that the helicopter is not allowed to go across the road or above the riders in any way, shape or form. The reason for this was the riders were complaining about the strong winds being created by the helicopter as it passed over the road. Now, if you're on a push bike, you're probably going to feel it a lot. If you're in a car, you're probably not going to feel it. But when the cars are so aerodynamically twitchy, chances are it could have some form of an effect. So, my conspiracy theory grows a little bit with a little bit of information from the Tour de France.
You'll need to message Craft Sticks or what's his name?
Ted Kravitz or Crofty, yeah.
Yeah, or even Martin Brundle.
No,
he goes out and tests.
I tell you what we do. Actually, I tell you what we do. Right now, I'm sure quite a few of our viewers watch BBC. Or not BBC F1 anymore because it's not Channel 4 or Sky, or even our viewers from other countries. Do us a favour, tweet them on their live shows, send them tweets, ask them the question. Could the helicopter, or does the helicopter have the possibility of having an aerodynamic effect on the cars, on the track, if it's passing over the track? All of you do it, tweet them. And if you manage to get them to actually say it live, show it live, get a screenshot of them popping the tweet up on the telly and send it to us at Front Row Racing Facebook page, that would be brilliant. Because if it's just me asking the question, we might not get an answer. If there's plenty of us asking the question, we might get an answer. Okay, we're on to the final lap of the race. We've got Williams leading Williams with a nearly 4 second gap between them. Dave the Harp is 32 seconds off the lead. And I tell you what, Ray, do you want to just have a quick look and see whether any of the drivers have any penalties looming over them at the moment? Rickster is in fourth. He's about 6 seconds off the back of Dave the Harp at the moment, with Richie Davey about 10 seconds behind him. And 69. I don't want to commentators curse him here, but he's on for a driver of the day. He has been absolutely storming in this race. Azamort 590, he's up to 7th place, running ahead of the Ferraris. Azamort's done fairly well, to be honest, as well, coming in as a reserve driver, nearly a minute off the lead, but with the weather conditions as they are, it can expand the gaps and the level of pace. K-Slate up to 8th place. He said he wanted wet conditions. Be interesting to find out afterwards whether he actually was pleased that the wet conditions have come his way. Front Row Racing GP, you know what, I think he's going to be absolutely miffed about this one. Looked like he may have been able to call the strategy absolutely bang on, but instead it was his tyres that went bang. Now, for any of the viewers, as the drivers are making their way towards the checkered flag for the end of the race, if any of the viewers have any questions that you would like us to put to the drivers that will be on the podium at the moment, that's Hindle, Hybrid Nuke and Dave the Harp. If you've got any questions you'd like us to ask to them, feel free to comment now in the YouTube comments section, and if we manage to get around to asking the drivers some questions, we will do. But Hindle, he's coming around the final corner for the final time to take victory here in Spa in very wet conditions. I think he'll be pleased about that one. Hybrid Nuke might not be as pleased. It'll be interesting to see what it's like on the podium between those two. Dave the Harp, he's got
Six penalties.
Oh, 6 penalties. 6 penalties to be dished out to some of the drivers. So it'll be interesting to see who has got those. And Dave the Harp has only got a couple of corners to go now. I think he'll be absolutely buzzing about getting on the podium this week. He deserved a podium result last week. Didn't quite come his way due to very unfortunate circumstances. But over the line, he will go for a provisional 3rd place. In 4th place, we have Rickster taking his McLaren across the line. Not sure how he'll feel about that one. Richie Davey, he showed phenomenal pace in the early stages of the wet running. And 69... and 4. It was a great drive by him there, and he is absolutely delighted as he takes that Underdog Racing Red Bull across the line. Asamoah, 7th place. He should be pleased with that. Big good points for the team. In 8th place, Kay Slay in the Ferrari. An experience for him, that one, in the wet conditions on his wheel. And Flora Racing GP in 9th place. He will not be pleased about that one. So, on to the podium now. Do we have any switches of position? We won't know for sure with the Williams drivers because I don't know which one was which, but it's either Hybrid Nuke or Hindle on top step of the podium. Probably Hindle, depends about penalties. But it is a Williams and the Mercedes of Dave the Harp in 3rd place. So as they spray their champagne, we can only doff our caps and say well done to the drivers. Williams dominating the World Series this season. Going to take some epic drives from a few of the other drivers to take some victories off these guys in the last few races. Now, Hindle did take the victory then with Hybrid Nuke getting himself a little bit of a penalty and takes 2nd place. So confirmation, or provisional confirmation I should say, is Hindle, Hybrid Nuke, Dave the Harp, Rickster, Richie Davey and 69 Asamoah. From Row Racing GP moves ahead of Kay Slay with Kay Slay's penalty, and then we're into the DNFs of From Row Racing NW, Charlie and Acorn 95. Shame for those drivers there. So as we take a moment then to take in the race that we've just had there, a huge shame that we only ended up with 9 finishers in the race, considering in the World Championship race yesterday. I must admit I was very, very impressed that of all 14 drivers that started the race, all 14 drivers finished the race. Okay, Ray, if you would like to invite the drivers, the podium drivers, into our little commentary booth here, where it's nice and warm and we can get them dried off, and we'll ask them a few questions. Now, I'll tell you what, for anyone that has been watching the live stream from early on, or is watching this on YouTube, the original question of the day, I'm going to give you the answer now. For anyone that has been sat there working it out, if you didn't come up with your own name, then I do apologise, because the first thing that I said was, you're a bus driver. The last thing of the question was, what's the bus driver's name? So for anyone that didn't get that and spent ages trying to work out the mathematics, I do apologise. Anyway, on to the drivers then. I've seen that I think Hybrid Nuke and Hindle have joined us, or was that Dave the Harp? We'll just do a quick mic check. Dave the Harp, do we have you on microphone?
Yeah, I'm on microphone.
Okay, if you could just quickly make sure you've got it allowed to share. Hybrid Nuke, do we have you on microphone?
Yep.
Okay, if you could quickly just make sure you've got yours allowed to share. And Hindle, do we have you on the microphone?
Yep.
Okay, if you could also just quickly make sure that you've got your microphone set to share. Now, I'm going to fire in straight away with a difficult question because the viewers are going to want to know. There was a little bit of contact between the two Williams drivers. Is there an argument? Was there a discussion? Do we know what happened there? Did it change who would have won the race?
Yes.
Get the gloves on.
From my view, he was coming from the outside. He had the extra speed from the slipstream. He braked, but he come over to my side. He went for the apex on the left-hand side when I was there. He collected me. He spun himself, as far as I'm aware. But obviously, we're all entitled to our opinions, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, ding ding, round 2. Hybrid Nuke, what was your view of the incident? Ding ding, round 3 then. Okay, we crashed. Right, we got that bit out of the way. Okay, on to then the more general questions. Hindle, in qualifying, were you pleased with the lap time you got in, or did when the rain come, did that ruin the laps where you were really trying to push?
My bank lap weren't too bad, 46, so but I know I can get to the 45s. So I thought, that's not too bad. Second lap, we'll go for it. The rain was coming. I think it was when I was going through sector 1, it started raining. and you notice straight away you're sliding a bit, so I knew it weren't going to be quicker. But yeah, I was fairly happy with my 46 on.
Okay, start of the race. Hybrid Nuke manages to jump you at the start, I think, or at least halfway around the first lap. He's in the lead. Was it annoying? I mean, I personally think that the pole position slot is on the wrong side of the grid here at Spa, because the racing line really is on the left-hand side of the grid. In that sort of where pole position slot would be, that's where the racing line is. So, was it down to a poor start, dirty side of the grid, or was it an overtake down the Kemmel?
Well, I think he got a jump start. And what I was saying to him all today, I probably am going to go for pole, but I don't want it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got a bit of a jump start side by side into turn 1, and he got me with the slipstream.
Okay. You pitted very early. Now we saw Temp Fear pit at the end of lap 4 yesterday, and it didn't work for him. So, what made you pit at the end of lap 4?
Rain in 10 minutes.
Okay, so it was a case of then, right, let's just get a new set of tyres on, take them to the rain.
Yeah, at first thought I thought I'm going to have to pit again, but I probably had 2 laps left on my tyres before we were gone, and it started raining, so I was quite fortunate.
Worked out quite well. In the wet conditions, I mean, did you go for intermediates, or was it straight to the full wet tyre for yourself?
Yeah, intermediates for I think 3 or 4 laps, and Hybrid kept saying it's time for full wets, it's time for full wets. And I didn't think it was because I was gaining quite a lot.
Yeah.
But my inter started to go off, so I paid for the full wets.
From what we were seeing from those drivers that put full wet tyres on, it wasn't ready for the full wet tyre. For example, from a racing GP, you'd have noticed he was ahead of you, hadn't made a stop yet. Unfortunately for him, got a puncture, so he had no choice but to pit. He went to the full wet tyre, kind of had to gamble that because of the puncture. It didn't work because it wasn't quite ready for the full wets and wasn't for a few laps. So going to the inters may have worked, but obviously different people's strategies went different ways. How difficult was it in those wet conditions?
Well, I've not done 1 lap in the wet, intermediates or full wet. So the first few laps was, can I go full throttle up or Rouge? Can I do it through Blanchimont? And 9 times out of 10 you could. But it was a learning experience the first few laps, trying to see what the car would do.
It definitely is. Well, anyway, well done on the provisional victory. We'll probably come back to you in a few moments' time. So, Hybrid Nuke, onto yourself then. Qualifying, did you get caught out with the wet weather at the end of qualifying? Did it cost you a chance of improving on the lap?
No, not at all. I put in my 1 lap and I was happy at second. Get the toe up and be gone.
Fair enough. Okay, start of the race. Pleased that you managed to get the benefit and take the lead at the end of the Kemmel Straight?
Well, it's been about time for the starts. It's always somebody else who gets the jump start, so I was quite happy about that. And I knew the toe would be great. We put it into Rich and go.
Okay, so were you hoping to be able to open the gap up even more in the opening stint of the race? I mean, we saw both Williams were able to open up a bit of a gap, but did you feel that you wanted to be opening it up on Hindle as well?
Oh, of course I did. But, you know, we're evenly matched drivers and we're always going to be fighting side by side.
Okay, so when it came to the pit stops then, you see your teammates pitted at the end of lap 4. I think you went another 2 laps. You didn't pit the next lap. It must have been end of lap 6 or even lap 7. So was it always the plan to go as long as possible?
Yeah. I mean, if I can get 2 or 3 laps on anybody, then there's a big gain there. And then there was the wet conditions coming, and I knew as soon as it said heavy rain, I was going on the wets. Rather than having that extra pit stop.
Well, your strategy played out that way, that because you went longer on the first stint, it meant that you had better tyres on that second stint, could go that little bit longer, and could go to a full wet tyre. So that worked out in your favour. We didn't get to see the first overtake because you were actually leading when Hindle had to put the full wet tyre on, and you were leading. We didn't see what happened with the switch of position because there was about a second and a half gap between the two of you. We went to watch a battle, come back, and you'd swap places. So was there a bit of a moment there, or did he just catch you up and pass you?
No, he passed me. My tyres were starting to go. He passed me.
Okay, fair enough. Last into the race, I'm guessing you feel it could have gone a lot better.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, well done anyway on a provisional second place, so we may come back to you depending on what questions the viewers have got. So we'll move on to Dave the Hart for Killer Acorn Mercedes. An interesting race there, Dave. Now, I mean, I think a lot of us would feel that, yeah, really, you should have been on the podium last week, wasn't to be. You're on the podium this week. So, how frustrated was you when you're like, oh God, it's me and Charlie again?
I was just going to say that. I just don't know what happened at the start there. I just seemed to be going backwards. And then got caught in this battle with Charlie. And so we come round to the end of the lap. I think it was lap 4. And I thought, well, if he carries on, I'm going to pit. So he went to carry on, so I went for the pits. And the next one, he just cut straight across the pits. I don't know if you got it on broadcast.
Nope.
I'm just totally. I had to, obviously I had to slow down into the pits even more. But I managed to get out in front of him anyway, and then that was it.
Well, I mean, you both were sort of battling it out a little bit, not as close as perhaps as in Hungary last week. I mean, once he received his disqualification, it was a bit of a lonely race for yourself. But, I mean, was there any point for you where... Because I think you went option, was there, and then intermediates. Was there any point where you were thinking, I could go to the full wet tyre? Straight from...
No, because I was due to pit anyway. Just as it started raining, so I was quite lucky there. And it wasn't ready for the inters at the time, actually.
No,
according to the engineer, it wasn't ready for inters.
Yeah.
So he just said, just take it easy and whatever. So then eventually it got heavier, and I thought, I'm going to have to get changed for wets.
Well, you did. It worked. You finished third. So if there was anything from your race that you would have liked to have perhaps done differently, what would it have been?
Oh, nothing really, because them two guys on top 2, they're pretty quick, so I'm pretty happy with third place.
And so you should be. Okay, we'll quickly move over to Ray. Ray, do we have any questions from the viewers for any of the podium drivers here?
Yes, we do. Okay. Hi, Brett. Are you and Hindle still friends after the collision? Or will you settle it between the stewards, like sending a report into the stewards about your collision? I don't know what happens with broadcast anymore.
I'm always going to be angry when I get crashed out. It doesn't matter who it is. Don't know about Hindle, but I still class him as a friend. He's a good lad. There's no real hard feelings.
There's no real hard feelings. I love you. Report. Okay. Well, I mean,
you say things in the heat of the moment.
The mentality of racing drivers tends to be, yeah, you're friends, but when you're on that racetrack, no, you're not. And the term teammate is not quite a right thing. At the end of the day, when a racing driver gets into a car, puts the helmet on, they want to win. Yeah, perhaps profanity filters do need to be placed into helmets. Okay, Ray, next question for us.
Dave the Hart, do you think you've got a chance of taking GP's league position from him at the end of the season?
To be honest, Ray, I'm not sure how many points difference is, so I'm just going to keep plugging away, mate, and give it my best shot.
Can't argue with that.
Okay, that's fair enough. I don't know about that, the points, sorry. That was GP asking.
It's just interesting, sneaky question to get in there. I'll tell you what, the points difference before this race, Front Row Racing GP on 108 and Dave the Harp on 81. So 27 points between them. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. Okay, Ray, next question.
We don't have a next question. All it was is GP, had to put 2 laps early, but it wasn't wet enough.
Yeah, so GP confirming then he did gamble the full wets, but it was too early. Okay, we'll go to final comments then for the drivers. Hindle, next track is Monza. You've said recently that you've been focusing on race pace and it's time to refocus on qualifying. You've also said you didn't really want pole position here at Spa. What about at Monza? What's the plan for there?
Well, it's like in a way, it's like a calendar track. There's similar lap times, and there's two massive straights. So if you're on pole here, you can be fourth by turn 1 because the running's quite long. But I think I'd balance it for this race.
Fair enough. Okay, Hybrid Nuke, we didn't have any pre-race comments off you this week. Was that because you didn't want to curse yourself?
I did that enough apparently, but don't know. Maybe next time, we'll see.
As I said, it's not short enough.
Okay, Dave the Harp, what are your thoughts about Monza?
I'm quite looking forward to it. It's got plenty of room for people to keep up me waiting, not knock me off. But I'll just hope that I have a race like I did tonight. I had quite a good race, good few little battles with people, some nice overtakes. So.
Yep. Now, I would just say this as well to all of our drivers, World Championship, World Series, and the FRI Days drivers. Watch the Monza Stewards Guide. There are some items on there that are different to any other track. You might wonder why it's been done that way. Just trust us. It works, it looks better, it looks good, it's better safety, but watch it. Don't go getting yourself a silly penalty in Monza because you haven't watched the Stewards Guide. Okay, so make sure you watch them, guys. They're all on the YouTube channel, they're there, you can view them, go and find it and have a watch. Okay, to our podium sitters then, Hindle, Hybrid Nuke and Dave the Harp, very well done to you guys. Remember though folks, it is only a provisional podium result. As we give the race directors chance to do their things, check out anything that gets reported, and then the confirmed result will be posted on Facebook on Tuesday. So drivers, thank you very much for joining us for the podium interviews. You are now welcome to drop down your towels, give us back the microphones and make your way off to your relevant parties, and if you don't do that willingly, we will kick you out of the door. So thank you very much and very well done to you guys. See you in a bit, Dave. Now, as those guys have made their way out, Ray, do we have any comments from any of the drivers that didn't make it onto the podium? Any post-race comments from them?
No, it was just GP saying it was 2 laps too early.
Okay. Now, for the drivers that don't make it onto the podiums, you are more than welcome after the race to send Ray a short message, a little bit about how your race went, what you thought, and at this point on the videos, we can mention them. I can imagine what Charlie's message would be. Beep, 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 beep. Going good should have been third. Beep, 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 beep. I'm sure I could make a bit of a song about that one. Anyway,
we could get that to Tommy.
We could do actually, yeah. Tommy, make us a song out of this one. And for anyone that doesn't know, Tommy is one of our admins. He creates music, and feel free to look him up. Kosker, COSKER, I think it is. I do apologise if I got that wrong, but yeah, so he's making some very, very good music. Okay, next up on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel is tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. for the Front Row Racing FRRI Days Cup, which will be for round 12 in Monza. The FRRI Days event is our feeder series into our F1 leagues. So if you've been watching this and you think, I want to get involved in that, the way in is through our feeder series, which is hosted on Fridays. Come and find our Facebook page, Front Row Racing. It's got a picture of the Silverstone wing on it. Send us a message letting us know that you're interested in joining. We'll get you to add myself as a friend. We'll get you in on a first invite, first join, first serve basis in the FRRI Days event. Drive fair, drive clean, drive properly. You get the opportunity to be on the reserve driver list, just like Azamort did this evening. Hybrid Nuke has come through that system. Hindle has come through that system, as well as a few drivers in the World Championship, the likes of Temp Fear, Stocky, It's Hammer Time. They've all come through the FRRI Days series. It's a very good feeder series to get your weight in. So yeah, feel free to join us for that.
Just don't do anything your mum wouldn't like to see you doing.
Exactly. Now that'll be at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow evening, as I said, at Monza. Now usually we would have the Project Cars Fridays League and the Project Cars Sundays League on Friday and Sunday, but we're in the off season for those at the moment, so we'll have a bit of break from Project Cars for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, join us tomorrow for the FRRI Days Cup at 7:30, and then the next show will be on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. for the Front Row Racing World Championship for round 12 at Monza, a race which could be an absolute classic, and that'll be joined then on the Thursday for the next round of the World Series at Monza as well. Okay, any final thoughts there, Ray?
No, that was great racing, great race strategies came out of that.
Yep. A very interesting race. Now, usually, something we haven't been doing this season is picking a driver of the day on the video. But you know what? I think I'd probably have to be tempted to give it to Ant69. You don't always get a driver of the day for winning a race or going from the back of the grid to the front of the grid, or it can be for a number of different reasons. And for Ant69, in this race today, I don't know, something just came alive. He's had his best race I think he's ever had in Front Row Racing, and in those tricky wet conditions he was putting moves on the likes of Richie Davey, Kay Slay, Front Row Racing GP, Acorn 95, drivers that most people would perhaps go, they're better. But you know what? Today, he found a little something extra special. Either that or someone else was driving for him. Anyway, okay, time to bring this show... It was his granny. It could have been. Okay, time to bring this show to an end then. So, Ray, thank you very much for joining me in the commentary box once again, even if I didn't give you much chance to talk.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. I had to make up for the last couple of weeks where I've not been able to do as much talking, so I've tried to make it all up in one go. Anyway, I've been Front Row Racing DP. We've been the Front Row Racing World Series. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.